Welcome to thakTECH.gaming. We're going to take a look at Star Realms today. This is a game that I actually was involved in the board game itself. They have a digital version that's pretty cool, and definitely something that's a little different than a lot of the card games out there. We're going to go ahead and just do an AI, and I'm going to start up a new one. Let's go ahead and we'll just start with medium because might as well. If you can get the game for free if you want to download it, but to get a lot of the extra stuff, you have to pay to unlock or whatever. And I don't have it unlocked on this computer because I normally play it on my Android, but it's easier to record here. So the basic tenet of this game is that it's a drafting type game where you draft from a tableau in between you and your opponent. You have health that you're trying to reduce to zero of your opponent. Obviously, you want to keep your health up. And you have attack, which is the little red crosshairs, and you have buying power, which is kind of the gold coins or whatever. So you start out with scouts and these little vipers, and you have 8 scouts or 7 scouts and 3 vipers, and these are kind of crappy cards that you want to get rid of eventually. And so there is a deck calling mechanic called scrapping, and you can see this supply bot here allows you to scrap a card in your hand or discard pile, which allows you to just throw the cards away. And obviously these low value cards, you want to get them out of your deck so that you only have the more powerful cards. One different thing in this drafting game, though, is you have this idea of these outposts that can be that are sideways, and they actually stay in front of you to give you powers hand over hand over hand. So in this case, if I was able to buy this barter world, it would actually, and I drew it and played it, it would sit in landscape mode right here until my opponent was able to do however many points of damage. You see this, it says 4 here. The hive is even more powerful, and it has a health of 5. You'll notice this one allows you to have 2 health or 2 coins, and that means every turn that this thing is out, it's either going to heal you 2, or you can generate 2 buying power from this outpost, which is pretty powerful. This one, on the other hand, gives you 3 attack, which is great, obviously. The other thing you'll notice, though, is that these cards have these additional little areas down here. What this means is this is the top power is the power that you get every turn or every time you play the card. Like in this case, this would be every turn you're going to get this as long as this is sitting in front of you. This means that when you play this card, you get 2 gold and you can scrap a card in your hand or discard pile. So these powers happen every time this card is played, which is why it's fairly, it's reasonably expensive. Okay. This, however, means that if you have another card of the same color that is played on this turn, i.e., if you play 2 red cards, the supply bot and 1 other red card, 1 or more other red cards, you get this additional power, which is a power of 2, which means you do an extra 2 damage if you have another. This supply bot will be able to do 2 damage if there's another red card on board. Okay, same thing with this cutter. This means that you get 4 attack if you have another blue out. Meaning that if this barter world was sitting out here in play, there's another blue unit, whether it's an outpost or a ship, you get to have that extra power. So this is a very powerful combo. The cutter, my son and I always joke, the cutter is probably one of the best, most overpowered cards in the game because it gives you 4 heals and 2 gold every single turn. Plus, if you get another blue out, it does 4 damage, and it only costs 2. So to me, anytime I get a chance to get a cutter, I'm going to do it. Okay. So the only other thing in terms of the display here that we can see is this little trash can icon, and this is the scrap. What this means is if you throw the card away, you get this additional power. What that means is if you have Barter World out in front of you and you decide you click on this and you're like, well, I'll go ahead and scrap it, it means that you will lose that card forever, but it will give you 5 attacks. So a lot of times you'll see people set up a bunch of bases that all have this scrap ability, and then they'll have a huge powerful thing with a bunch of cards they're playing, and they'll get their enemy down into lower health, and then they just keep pushing the scrap, 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 and then they end up just blasting you away by doing that, which is pretty crazy, but it's a good tactic. So that's kind of all the ways that the cards work. And so let's go ahead and just play. And so there is a play all button. A lot of times you will want to play the cards individually, but in this case they're all crappy cards, so I'm just going to play all. And you'll notice that gives me +1 trade, which gives me the 5 coins. And like I said, I'm always going to take a cutter if I can. And so that means that notice that now I only have 3 available, which means I can't buy this barter world because it costs too much. One thing that, like for example, this one is another heal with buying power, and you'll notice that blues have a lot of heals. But that's kind of the mechanism of the blue decks, the blue faction. The yellow faction is all about drawing cards and forcing your opponent to discard cards. The red faction is all about scrapping cards. I'm a huge fan of Supply Bot because of the scrapping cards to get rid of crappy cards in my hand. And the green is generally it's about swarming and tons of damage. It's the hive. It's kind of a more of that Zerg style play style. And then the explorer is always available every turn. If you just have 2 buy left and you don't want to waste it, you can just buy an explorer. But in this case, I am going to take the supply bot, even though this embassy yacht was the same color. The deck culling aspect is way too important in my opinion. Now you'll notice he did get 1 Viper, so he was able to do 1 authority to me, which damaged me again, and he did that the first turn as well. But you'll notice now I've got two Vipers out, and okay, so it is 8 and 2. 8 scouts and 2 Vipers is the starting hand. I forgot that it was not 7 and 3; it's 8 and 2. So anyway, so we're just going to play all. And you'll see that those each give me +1 combat. So this is what I have to work with this turn. I have another 3 I can buy. I'm going to go ahead and get another supply bot, and then I'm going to take my 2 damage and I'm going to apply it to the AI. And it's called authority. It's not health, but whatever. It's basically health. Okay, so he again does 1 damage to me, and I got my 5 buy again, which is good. So at this point, it's kind of a question as to how I want to go about this. Do I want to go all blue and red? And generally speaking, it's a good idea to do that, to focus on one faction. What you'll notice is I'm going to buy that blue. I pulled another card, and then I only have 1 left, so I can't do anything at all with it. It doesn't save from turn to turn. So you really do, a lot of times, want to make sure you try to get use all your buy power efficiently. You'll notice that he was able to do. He drew 1 of his new cards, and so did I. So at this point, this is where you have to start thinking about what order am I gonna play things in. In this case, because I do have things in my discard pile, I can click on Supply Bot, and it'll allow me to scrap a card from my hand or discard pile. So I'm going to click on my discard pile, and then I'm just going to pick one of these scouts, and I'm going to scrap it. What that means is now I have 1 fewer scout in my deck. Okay, and that's good because now I don't have a crappy card taking up that slot. Okay, my cutter, you'll notice as soon as I play this, I get both the trade and the authority, so I'm healed all the way back up, which is awesome. And then because I don't have a blue or another red, these little bonus powers don't kick in. So now I'm going to go ahead and just play the rest of my cards, and now I've got 6 buying power, so I can actually get all the way up to a missile mech. Now you'll notice that he has this barter world out, and so the missile mech is really nice because it allows me to just straight up destroy the base, which means that I get 6 power and I get to destroy a base, which is a fantastic ability. So I'm definitely going to take the missile mech. A lot of times people will stick with the lower value cards, but my problem is in a lot of cases I don't have a lot of buy power. So there's going to be these cases where you're going to have like 4 and everything out there is 5, which is too frustrating. So I'm going to go ahead and take the high dollar stuff. The other thing is if I click in turn, even though I still have this, it will tell me I have unspent combat. So I want to cancel that, and I want to do the damage to him. Okay. So now I'm going to let him play. Now I've got 2 supply bots out. This is fantastic because it means I'm going to be able to scrap cards. This can kind of suck in some ways because, like, if, for example, my discard pile is empty, I have to scrap from my hand, or I don't have to, but it says you may scrap a card. So I could cancel. I could say do not use. Oh, never mind. This is my deck. So this is a perfect example of this. So I do not have a discard pile. This is my draw pile. So now I can just say don't scrap anything, but let's look out at what we have available. I'm going to have 4 buy if I go that route, right? Oh, wait, I have 2 here. hang on, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I want to get the trade escort, I only need 5. So I can scrap this scout and see I have my 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to play this just so I don't accidentally screw this up, and then I'm going to click supply bot, and then I can scrap this card, which is only going to do 1 damage anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to scrap the Viper, I get my 4 combat, and now I can take out his Barter World, so that he can't get the extra 2 buy, he can't get the heal, and he's not going to be able to combo a blue with this Barter World. Now, please note, because this has the 4 is a silver, just like these two, I can attack him directly. If he had a battle station, you see how this says outpost. Well, it says I don't even know what it says. Let's see. Yep, it says outpost. So I've been calling them outposts, but I guess they're bases. Outposts you can't shoot past. You have to attack them. They are blocking damage from your opponent or from you. Okay, so that's not. This is actually a shield for your health, which is a fantastic thing to have available. But in this case, I am going to take the trade escort because it has a 4 heal, 4 attack, and allows you to draw a card. So that's too awesome for me not to take. But I am going to take out Barter World. Okay, so in this case we have I've now got my Barter World up, so and I've got my cutter. You'll notice that I get all 3. I get the +4 combat because I have a blue out, and then I can click play all. Now notice that Barter World here has the card is highlighted. That means that if I click on it, I get to choose which one of these 2 things I want. I'm going to click off of that, and let's look at what we've got. If I take the two gold, I get up to 7. Okay. That is not enough for the command ship, which sucks because the command ship obviously is fantastic because the combo is amazing. 5 damage, 4 heal, and I get to draw 2 cards. That's just super amazing, and I totally want that card. But it's like I can't really do this, so I don't know if it's better to take the 2 gold yet. So I'm going to go ahead and pop one of these Imperial Fighters. Now I could just buy Explorers and then use them to scrap, or I could take the Hive, which is a base that just always gives me 3 attack every turn that it's out. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Imperial Fighter because it only costs 1 because of exactly something like this, where I can get a red Mech World that's a 6 outpost, which is fantastic. So I am going to take the buy, I'm going to take Mech World, and then I'm going to just leave this alone. I'm not going to take another yellow. Some people argue that you shouldn't do that, but I'm playing, so whatever. Barter World here, you'll notice it's still got this power, and it says I can scrap it to do 5 damage, but obviously I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 4 damage, and I'm going to end my turn. It's going to say I have unspent trade. Yes, I want to continue because I don't want to take another Imperial Fighter, because what that could do is give him the opportunity to buy something super awesome, just like he bought that command ship, which sucks for me. I was really hoping to get that. So now all we have is green and yellow out on the board, which really kind of sucks. It also sucks that I got my missile mech up this late, because it would have been nice to be able to use that destroy enemy base to take care of that. Wow. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and buy an Explorer because I do not want to free up. I don't want to free up extra slots for him. And yes, I want to continue because I don't want to clog up my deck with a bunch of yellow. He's going red, hard red, so that's definitely something to be concerned about. So my supply bot, I can just scrap from discard this time. So I'm going to scrap the Viper because I've got enough damage dealing. The good news is I get my Mech World out, which gives me the Mech World counts as an ally for all factions, which is fantastic. Plus the fact that it's a 6 power shield is great for me. So notice that I get all 3 because this thing works as a Mech World is easily one of the best bases because of the fact that it allows you to do combos with a lot of different stuff. So I still get up to 6. The survey ship, I don't feel it's not nearly as bad of a yellow because it is a draw card. Basically, what this does is just gives you a free money every turn because it doesn't take up a space. Because, for example, if I draw 5 cards and one of them is a survey ship, I'm going to get a 6th card. So it isn't a bad it isn't a bad card to get. The only downside is that it obviously opened up that battle cruiser for him, just in case he gets it. I mean, I am going to take another explorer, and I'm going to do an intern, and I'm going to unspent trade again. And again, I'm sure that there's Star Realms pros that will tell me I'm an idiot, but that's fine. Okay, so he's got to discard a card. Again, I get the combo with Mech World. Traded Escort, because it combos, I get to draw a card. I get my barter rule out. I get this, which allows me to scrap a card from hand or discard. I am going to scrap a Scout because getting rid of those is a good thing. 3. And yeah, because see, here, like, I'm going to take the Cutter because it's the Cutter. The freighter is actually pretty awesome though, but I just don't want him to get a cutter because I don't want him to get that heal. So I'm going to take that, and then in this case, because if I go to 3 gold, I'm not really going to get any bonuses here. It's not going to matter. I'm going to go ahead and take my 2 authority. Not a huge deal, but it does get me a little bit more health. And again, I'm not taking that fighter. I am, however, going to do 10 damage to him, which is great. It does that screen shake thing because anytime you get 10 damage, it's going to pop something like that. So he had a target, destroy target base, and he took out Mech World, which is what I expect. And he was able to do enough damage to kill my other base and do 4 damage to me. So obviously that there's a lot of escalation in this game that you have to worry about. Okay, so we're going to scrap, and obviously we're going to scrap from discard if we can. So we're going to scrap our Scout from there, and then we're going to go ahead and play everything. And this isn't a great hand because I've got blue and red together, which isn't awesome, but it's better than nothing. This again, the Mothership, because it has the draw card, I'm going to take it because it's a free 7 damage, which I'm definitely going to be taking that one. I did not get any damage on that round, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Now, because he started going yellow, you notice how he's got all these discards. I have to discard 3 cards this turn, which really sucks. And you have to do it at the beginning of your turn, and he just did a crap ton of damage to me. Obviously, he's got all the bases. See that? That's really, really dangerous because he's actually ahead of me on health now. So I discard 3 cards and do my survey ship, which is crappy. I can destroy a target base, and I have to destroy one of these too. Please note these are the ones that are outposts, right? And I definitely want to destroy the one with more health, and it also forces me to discard if there's another yellow. Oh, and the other thing to note is that bases can combo together. So if you have 2 green bases, they will combo each other, which is super intense. Okay, so in this case, the Scout ship, I could scrap it to make him discard a card. And notice that this Corvette has the draw card as well. So I'm going to take that because the draw card, again, is free for me. And I am going to take out the battle station, and I'll do 1 more damage to him. It's not going to be that much, and I am concerned at this point. The good news is we do have our cutters helping out with the heals, but yeah, he's definitely whittling me down. So now we have this, which is fantastic because we drew that at the same time we drew our Mothership, so we get to draw 2 cards. Unfortunately, they're both Scouts, which are crap. We're going to do this Explorer. We're then immediately going to scrap it, so we get 2 extra combat. And then these will combo, which gets me a nice heal and enough damage to actually do some damage to him. Obviously, I need to take out that. I'm considering leaving this alone because he doesn't have a ton of blue, but blues give him heals, so I need to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and we're tied again on health. Dreadnought for 7, and again, this is a draw card. I'm definitely going to take that because I don't want him getting any more draw because he's got tons of draw now with the yellows that he was able to pick up. And he's got a discard out there right now. But you'll notice now he didn't combo those, which is important. Okay, so now I can discard. Obviously, I want to discard the Scout, which is the thing I need the least because this Explorer at least will give me 2 and 2. I'm going to scrap one of these Scouts. Now you'll note that a lot of times the red here doesn't matter as much later in the game. The discard doesn't help once you get to late game, but a lot of times you don't get to late game because you can't do enough damage. So there we go. We got our draw card combo. We can scrap again. So now we're getting down to the point where we have almost no starter cards, which is pretty cool. Okay, so right now we have 6 gold. This might not be a bad one. This is another scrap a card. But most importantly here is it's 4 damage and it gives me a draw card. Um, this one, however, with 4 buy is pretty awesome because it lets you obviously buy, and then whenever, as long as I've got another blue out, it'll automatically allow me to take whatever I bought and stick it on top of my deck, which is great because eventually you start getting late game stuff, and being able to immediately use it is very important. Um, so I think I am going to take that. And this is another free draw card. So in this case, the question is, if I go to a 4, that's going to get me Blob Destroyer. I think I'm going to do that because I don't like his. I think I'm going to do that because it allows me to destroy stuff, which is pretty important. And I'm going to get him down to 21 authority. And again, if I can keep this base up, that'll be pretty cool. Now he will be destroying my mech world, which sucks. Because that's my combo with the, yeah. Okay, so he went after taking my bases out, which makes sense because if you look at this, notice that I have all 4 colors, which sucks because there's no comboing going on. So let's do this to get my draw card first, which is good because now I do get my combo next ship to top, meaning that whatever I buy goes immediately on top of my deck. Now the thing that's crazy about that is if you play this right, if I would have had a second blue, the thing I would have wanted to do was play both of these cards so that then so that I could buy a card, put it on top of my deck, and then play one of these draw cards. That's pretty important in a lot of cases. My discard doesn't have anything in it, so it's not going to matter. So I can scrap this. Let's see, that'll give me 8, 9. So I'm going to go ahead and buy this battle mech. Oh my gosh. Yep. Recycling Station is fantastic. First of all, it's a blocker, but it also allows you to discard cards and then draw more cards. So if you got in a case like where I had one of each of those colors, I could discard a couple of them and try to get cards that I want, which is fantastic. So I will not be scrapping this scout. So I'm going to do not use so that I can do this, so that I can buy the Recycling Station. And then I'm going to play my Imperial Fighter, which is going to give me a little bit of help in terms of making him discard a card. And obviously that's a crap ton of damage. So if I have one more round like that, we should win. And the AI in this game is actually pretty good. Hard is actually pretty hard, at least for me. I'm definitely not a pro. And I did play this at GenCon and got destroyed by a lot of people that are really, really good. Okay, so obviously we want a combo. So we have to do all 3 of these, which kind of sucks. So we're going to discard those 3. And the reason is because both of these are draw card. Scrap a card from my hand or discard. I will scrap it now. Missile mech, you may destroy target base. Let's see, machine base, draw a card, then scrap a card. Discards, draw a card. I'll probably get rid of... Oh, I guess I have to get rid of that one. That's tough. Okay. Okay, so now obviously I'm going to take this because it's a draw card. I'm going to take this because it's a draw card. I'm going to take this because it's a draw card. And you can see like how this thing just kind of like, it's a steamroller. So now at this point I can win by just killing this and then immediately doing 14 damage. I don't even have to keep playing these. And that's the end of the game. Yay, fireworks. So that's Star Realms against the AI. Obviously I'm not, I didn't play against hard, but hopefully that shows you kind of how the game works. It's a really cool game. Really enjoy it. And if you have any questions about it, please feel free to leave a comment. And if you like it, hit that like button, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.